Hi, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to our podcast today. These podcasts are brought to you in part by our sponsors, who really truly are what make these podcasts possible every week. O'Fallon Nutrition is a company that I've worked with for over 15 years. They're independently owned and operated, located here in O'Fallon, Missouri, right off of Highway K and Mexico Road. I call this place the Whole Foods of St. Charles County, but even if you are not located on this side of the river, it is still worth the drive. I can remember working all the way down at Powerhouse and still sending people out to O'Fallon Nutrition for their supplements. They are more than a supplement company. You can get grass-fed beef, salad dressing, seasoning for your cooking, hair care products, makeup, deodorant, toothpaste, essential oils, and all the vitamins and minerals that you can think of. If you're looking for clean, whole food nutrition, as well as home care, house care, skincare products, O'Fallon Nutrition is your place. You can take a look at them at o'fallonnutrition.com, or if you'd like to have something shipped, if you're listening to me from outside of St. Louis, you can certainly have items shipped. I know they do free shipping if it's an order over $50, and the phone number is 636-240-5283. Again, it's o'fallonnutrition.com. As well as if preparing your food on a weekly basis is your primary excuse for why you're not able to stay on a good, clean eating program, which is something that I hear very regularly from my clients, I would ask you to please take the time to check out Pure Plates. It's pureplatesstl.com. They are a phenomenal place. We get our food from there during the week. They deliver to our Integrity location. They will deliver to your house. They also are just available for pickup. You can go to their Chesterfield location or their Kirkwood location and just pick up meals for the day, as well as just having them delivered right to your door. So if preparing your food is your main excuse for why you cannot stay on a healthy eating program, then I would suggest just stop by Pure Plates. Just try it. If you're trying to lower your blood pressure, you're trying to lower your cholesterol, you're trying to get your blood sugar down, try to do Pure Plates meals for a week and just see how different you feel. These are organic meals. They are gluten-free. If you need them to be, they can be dairy-free. They are soy-free. You're not taking any processed sugars or meat-curing agents or preservatives. They really, truly believe in nutrient-dense meals that are just whole food nutrition. And I've had my clients, or I've made recommendations for my clients for years at Pure Plates. It's pureplatesstl.com, or you can call them to ask questions at 636-778-3555. Again, remembering that they have a location in Chesterfield as well as in Kirkwood that you can just run by and pick up a meal today. Everyone always asks me where I get my meat from, and given that I really eat meat on a daily basis, typically beef primarily, my meat is very important to me. I have an autoimmune condition and I want grain-free, corn-free meat, and I just haven't found the confidence in stores in knowing that I'm getting 100% grass-fed, grass-finished beef. And I have searched and searched and searched for the right farm, and I have found the farm. It's fedfromthefarm.com, fed, F-E-D, from thefarm.com. These farmers are amazing. It's a family. They're here in Missouri, and they have the desire, just like I do, to see people well and to see people healthy, and they put a lot into what they do. It's such a wonderful family to support. They do offer 100% grass-finished, grass-fed, meaning that's it. A beef, and I get my ribeyes, I get my ground beef, my ground sirloin, I get my chuck roast. I mean, they basically have everything. They even have awesome jerky, but they also have eggs, they have chickens, and they have turkey. I'm planning on getting a turkey for Thanksgiving, and if you'd like lamb, they have that as well. But if you are in need of good quality grass-fed, grass-finished beef, or quality eggs, chicken, turkey, don't just settle for what you're getting at the local store. to go out on the internet and check out Fed from the Farm. That you can arrange a pickup or you can have it delivered to your home. And I can guarantee you're going to taste the difference. For me, my health actually depends on it. So I really thank God to have found such a great farmer. Fedfromthefarm.com. I hope it blesses you.
Welcome to Faith, Fuel, and Fitness, the Integrity Way, with your hosts, John and Debbie Morris from Integrity Training Systems.
Hey everybody, this is John and Debbie Morris with Integrity Training Systems on Real Talk 93.3. So happy to have you with us today. We always like to start our show off by talking about what it means to be a warrior. And a warrior is a brave or experienced soldier or fighter. And I know a lot of times it's easy to not think that you are a warrior, that you're going to struggle to get through whatever it is that you're battling against. But if you consider the fact that you don't have to be brave and you don't have to be a soldier, you just have to be experienced and fight, then you can recognize that you're a warrior. And all experiences is having come through something at some point in your life. And being a fighter just means that you had to overcome it and it wasn't easy. So that makes you a warrior. And what does it mean to be a warrior? Well, that means that whatever you're looking at and you think this is the most difficult thing that I have ever taken on in my life, you've said that before, and I have a friend of mine that has, really become successful in the business world, who's very financially well off, has a lot of employees. And he talks about the stress of being a business owner. Now, we are business owners, and Debbie and I, and we can tell you that from the get-go, when we first opened, we had just a couple employees. There was actually the two of us, and then we had four other people. And now we have a lot more people. I think we're up to around 20 total employees. And the stress right now is really, it's different, but it's not. It's the same feeling as when we first opened. And my friend, who, as I stated, is in a much larger scale business, he said it's the same. He's like, I make numbers, and I heard it said like this. He goes, the only difference between the stress I deal with now and that you deal with are zeros. That's it. There's extra zeros at the end of the numbers, but it is the same. You can go out of business, go under the exact same way. You can go in the red the exact same way. You can worry about your employees the exact same way. Like, it is exactly the same stress. It's just on a different level. And that was interesting to me for a couple of reasons, because it's like, wow, okay. So, you can look at it as I'm never going to get away from this stress, or you can choose to be optimistic about it and think, it's not about whether or not I'll ever get away from the stress. It's more about, okay, if I'm already handling it now, why wouldn't I just persist into winning? Like, why wouldn't I just go on? Because if you think that there's an end, there's a resolution to that conflict, or you fail, you may not press in as hard. And if you stay pressed in, that's the warrior mentality. That's what I'm here to talk to you about. That's what we like to say is you just have to persist. A lot of people think about perfection, like I have to be perfect in how I overcome this. But you've heard me say this before, persistence will actually take you closer to perfection than trying to be perfect will. Because if you're trying to be perfect, when you fail, and you will under some form of circumstance, it's easy to just give up because you were no longer perfect. So, I didn't make it. But if you persist and you recognize, like, okay, that was a stumbling block, that was a stepping stone I missed, but you know what? I'm still on this journey. I'm still pressing forward. Then you will ultimately get to the success that you're looking to overcome, and I take that back to a young man that I sent off today. And when I first met him, we talked about him. I can't remember if that was last week or the week before last week. I want to talk a little bit more about him because we had like a moment this morning where he actually came in to pick up something that I had for him, and he ships out today for the military and going to the Army. He'll be gone for months before he's even able to come back. He's got 4 years that he's going to be in. And I just told him, I'm like, you did it, man. Like, you made it to this phase of life. Now, that's not the end. this is actually just the beginning, but it's the beginning of a new phase. And the phase that he had to come through was giving up the only friends that he knew because they were bad influences, getting away from substances that he used to overcome or attempt to replace what he had happen in his past, getting to a place mentally and emotionally where he overcomes the problems that he has had. He hasn't forgotten them, but he knows how to move past them. He knows how to cope with them without the substances. Getting to a place where he was failing in school, but he applied himself to where he actually graduated early. Then he made the decision to go and represent our country in the armed forces. Like all of these things 3 years ago, if you had told him he was going to do, he probably would have laughed at himself and said, yeah, right. And you know what? A lot of society would have too. And that's what frustrates me is with where he was and what he had going on societally, they probably would have wrote him off. Like, well, look at his family and look at what he comes from, look at what he's dealing with. Look at the crowd he's hanging with. And when he started to try to be successful, he even ran into that a little bit. Like he had a teacher at school where someone that was in front of him had the exact same situation where they forgot to turn in an assignment the day before, and so did he. And the teacher accepted the person in front of him's assignment, but when he went to turn his assignment in, they were like, no, we can't take this. It's too late. And he said he didn't even argue because he was like, the person in front of me just turned in the same assignment. The teacher absolutely knew that it was the same assignment from the same day. And I was like, well, why didn't you try to tell her? He's like, because it didn't feel like the right fight. I just said, okay. And I just continued to work towards the grades I wanted to work towards. So why am I telling you this? My point is, even if people are writing you off, even if people are telling you you can't overcome something, especially if they're telling you can't overcome something, I challenge you to warrior up and press through it anyway. I challenge you to say, you know what, I'm going to go forward in spite of that. And if you tell someone your dreams and they immediately try to shut it down, you've probably told the wrong person what it is that you want to do.
Yeah, you might be telling someone who couldn't do it themselves, so therefore they're going to, try to shut you down. But at the end of the day, that's what makes a person a warrior, is in spite of all of those challenges, in spite of everything that is going wrong, when he became the warrior was the day that he took his grandmother's advice and said, okay, I'm going to go see John. I'm going to start exercising. I'm going to start eating right. I'm going to see Debbie on my nutrition. I'm going to actually make the decision to do something different with my health. And he didn't have anything going for him. He had nothing showing him that any of this was going to produce anything.
And his grandma was trying, but that's the thing is, like she said, I'm just grandma.
Right.
Like, I'm just raising him. You know, it's like he wasn't listening.
And so, she thankfully was spirit led to do that. And John showed up. He showed up to the gym. And so John had to be a warrior in spite of all the challenges that he had going on over the course of the past 3 years. No matter how his health was, no matter what his personal circumstances were, no matter what his financial struggles were, John showed up to work every single day. And because he showed up to work every single day, that kid's life changed. And together, they've produced this human being that's going to be serving our country and is just a remarkable person. It shows you the trickle down effect from your choices, his grandmother's choices and how that impacted the grandson. It shows you how John's choices impacted him. The few decisions to just not get up and not do your best and to snooze or to not show up for work that day. It all it impacts someone else, and this kid's life was impacted by John's decisions, and now a lot of lives are going to be impacted by this kid's decisions and the way he moves forward with his life and the way he protects our country and what he does, and we're just so thankful for that. And we just pray that if you're in a situation that you are enduring some hardship, and I guarantee that you are, it's real life. I mean, I can remember thinking as a business owner, not even that long ago, thinking to myself that I was a failure because I was almost going to be 50 years old and I didn't have, a certain amount of money in the bank or certain this or a certain that. And I must be failing if there's still ups and downs all the time. But then I started listening to other people and other business owners, and I started realizing, like John said, it's just more zeros. It's the same type of struggles, but it's just more zeros. And whatever your situation is, there's enough strength inside you to be able to persevere through that challenge, to overcome and to get ahead of it, and to just become better. What we coach people on is nutrition and physical fitness, but we also have a spiritual aspect to that. And we believe that fitness and that food can fuel you for a better way of life. For more information on that and our 6-month nutrition program or working with a personal trainer, take a look at integritytrainingsystems.com or give us a call at 636-299-2208. For gluten-free, dairy-free baked goods delivered from my personal bakery to you, take a look at sophiesbakery.com. And for 100% grass-fed beef, the only meat that the Morris family will eat, take a look at fedfromthefarm.com.
Welcome back, everybody. This is John and Debbie Morris with Integrity Training Systems on Real Talk 93.3. Just wrapped up talking to you about the definition and what it means to be a warrior. And we started talking a little bit about me showing up for the gentleman that I just explained was a warrior. And I want to go a little bit more into that. It's fascinating because we all have battles. And I was talking to someone about this last week about it's funny if you compare yourself, like you hear those things like, well, you think you have it bad, but someone's sleeping under the bridge in an ice storm right now. It's like, okay, like that's pretty bad. Like that's worse than what I'm dealing with. Right. But then you're like, yeah, but that guy's a multi-billionaire. And so he has it better than me, so yeah, there's people that have it worse, but there's people that have it better. And what I will tell you is everybody's problem, just like we were talking about adding zeros, everybody's problem where they are is just as important as where you are. And it was fascinating. There's this guy on Instagram and he was being interviewed and you could tell that the interviewer was probably interviewing him to almost make fun of him. He wasn't your standard, like super handsome guy. He had kind of like long stringy hair. He talked a little awkwardly. And they're getting ready to start this recording, and someone walks between the person recording and the interviewer and this gentleman. And the guy was like, I can't believe that. The dude just walked in front of us. This guy lays into something that I'm not going to do him justice. I need to try to find the video. But he's basically like, yeah, but I don't think he had any malicious intent about it. He's just in his own world. We're all in our own worlds. We're all walking around just trying to make it through life and surviving. And at the end of the day, you might think someone's doing something to wrong you, but they're probably just so wrapped up in what they're having to do that they're not even aware of the fact that they've done something that you see or perceive as negative. And the guy with the microphone's like, wow, and he goes, that's really deep. And he goes, well, we have to go deep because if we don't actually go deep to try to see what life has to present for us, then we just stay shallow on the surface and we're never fulfilled. And you can just tell this interviewer is like, okay, like I'm glad I decided to interview this guy. And I say that, I tell you this because what is the purpose of your life? Like, what are you supposed to be doing? We had church this last week and we had someone that was a guest speaker from out of town and they were talking about what is your ministry? Well, Debbie and I's ministry is health. And so when I wake up, like I have my problems. We all have problems. I have neurological imbalances, psychological issues. I've been hit in the head more times than most football teams combined. So I have imbalances. And there are days that when I wake up, I do not want to get up. I don't, and I think everybody goes through that. I used to deal with something called sleep paralysis, where I would wake up and I would actually be physiologically incapable of moving. It's like being trapped in your brain as if you're in a prison. And so there were times that Debbie would literally have to look at my phone and see what time I was supposed to be at work and what clients I would have because I couldn't get up and I couldn't talk. I thank God don't deal with that anymore. But my point is, I have mornings that I didn't feel like going in. There's days that I don't feel like doing what I'm supposed to do. And so I have to remind myself, like, why do I get up? Like, what is the why? Who am I affecting? Who am I affecting if I don't get up? This gentleman that we were talking about, had I not showed up for him, maybe he wouldn't have become who he's becoming. Maybe he would have just thought he doesn't have to show up. Maybe he would have thought if I cancel him, that it's okay for him to cancel him,
right?
Or that I just don't care. And maybe that lack of caring would have been what caused him to stay where he was. I mean, he wrote me a letter that says that I essentially showed up for him.
Yes.
You know, and I just think that you have to ask yourself, who are you doing what you're doing for? And I had a client I was talking to last week about fulfillment, and he said, the problem is, I don't know if I feel that what I'm doing is actually helping anybody or fulfilling somebody. And so I just said, like, okay, but what do you do? Like, you're in real estate. So when you sell that real estate, like, are you allowing someone else to pursue their dream? Is what they're doing helping the next person? Were they able to get into that situation because of you? You may be surprised the effect, the umbrella that what you're doing is helping with. And if you know what, if what you're doing isn't fulfilling you, if you don't feel fulfilled, or like you're answering the call and purpose God's put on your life, it doesn't mean that you can't do that for a living. What can you do outside of that?
Right.
How do you show up for other people?
Yep, absolutely. I mean, I think we personally own a fitness center, and, you know, we own a bakery, but we're serving God through those businesses. And so we show up for people, of course, providing solutions and answers to problems when it comes to health issues. But the reality is that we're just servants. We're just in that place trying to serve God any way that He would show us. And so, yeah, we're just showing up for sure.
Yeah, and I think that at the end of the day, that's what we're called to do, is just show up.
Right.
You know, I used to hate the Nike slogan because I didn't understand it. I was like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. What do you mean, just do it? But like, now I get it. Mm-hmm. It's like I was enlightened, like, just do it.
Right. Just
like, what are you not doing? Like, who are you not showing up for? We had a conversation with our daughter, I think it was last week. My days kind of blur together at this point, in regards to showing up. Mm-hmm. You know, like not calling in sick to school, not going to school. Not bowing out of school early. And what I explained to her is I had this moment when I worked for a police department where I would let myself use my paid time off. Now, that's what it's there for, sick leave. Paid time off is for if you're sick. And I recall, and this is, you know, my very first department, that I had a few times that I would call and be like, I'm not going to make it in today, I'm sick, because I just didn't feel like going. I didn't feel, quote unquote, well, but I wasn't sick. I'd stay at home and watch movies or play video games, or it was like I gave myself that day off. And I had a night, I was on overnights. It was a Friday night. I came in Saturday night, 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. And the guys that I work with were in the squad room, and they were just quiet. And I'm like, what's up, guys? You know, and they were like, man, we got hammered last night. Hammered, like call after call, stacking domestics, basically telling women that were getting beaten, well, we'll be there when we can be there because we're on another scene of someone getting beaten. And they were just, you could just tell they had been run through the ringer. And I, in my mind, was like, ooh, I'm going to have to pretend to be sicker than I actually am because I feel bad that I wasn't here. And it just hit me. Pretend to be sicker? I can't stand liars. Mm-hmm. What do you mean pretend to be sicker? If you have to pretend to be sicker than you were to make it seem like it was okay for you to not be here, then you should have been there.
Right.
I let those guys down. And so what I told Sophie is, I'm like, this goes all the way back to school. If you allow yourself to miss school because you just don't feel like it, and then you miss work because you just don't feel like it, it's more than like letting someone down. You may actually be harming people by not showing up.
Right.
So you have to make a decision. Like, the only time that you're going to catch me not going into work now is because my vision's so blurry from migraines that I get that I literally can't drive, or I'm so sick that I'm going to sleep the whole day. You ain't going to catch me watching movies on a sick day. You're not going to catch me playing video games on a sick day. If I'm not well enough to go in, I'm not well enough to do anything. And I challenge you guys to start thinking like that.
Absolutely. We just want to continue to serve. You want to continue to be the best versions, run the reps, and just do the work. For more information on what we do at Integrity Training Systems, take a look at integritytrainingsystems.com or give us a call at 636-299-2208. For gluten-free, dairy-free baked goods delivered to your door from my personal bakery, take a look at sophiesbakery.com. And for 100% grass-fed beef, the only meat that the Morris family will eat, take a look at fedfromthefarm.com.
Welcome back, everybody. This is John and Debbie Morris with Integrity Training Systems on Real Talk 93.3, talking a lot about finding purpose in your life. And I want to transition a little bit from that while staying somewhat in the same topic, involving what we do. And what we do is health and wellness oriented. You know, it's funny because we own a gym and it's called Integrity Training Systems. And so people will come in thinking, okay, this is a gym. I'm going to work out here. I'm going to be told exactly what to eat on a nutrition plan. And that's all true. But then it's interesting because I'll meet with people that have met with Debbie on their food and they'll be like, why does she know all of that? Like, how does she know all of that? And they're like, it's more than just like losing weight. It's more than building muscle. It's actually about like altering my health and altering what kind of medications I'm having to take because my hormones are changing. My blood is changing. My body, my digestive system is changing. And it's interesting because we get to do that every day. And what I look at is, are you even capable of doing what you feel called to do? Like there's a decision part of that. Sure. There's the part of that where you decide to muscle up. You're like, I got this. I'm going to be optimistic. But then there's also the side that is actually potentially neurologically, psychologically, or physiologically preventing you from doing something. If you're wanting to do a pull-up and I come over and I hang 100-pound vest off your back, that pull-up is going to become pretty difficult. You can tell yourself, I'm still going to do a pull-up, but there's still 100 pounds there. If you're telling yourself, I'm going to get up and I'm going to go to work today, but you just ate raw garbage the day before and you got drunk enough that you have a little bit of a hangover and you're so hopped up on sugar that your brain is foggy. Now that decision you're trying to make to get up and go to work has become exponentially more difficult. You've actually set yourself up for a harder fight. It's the concept of working smarter, not harder. Well, you're working harder. So when you have someone that's like, yeah, I get up every day and I go running at 4 a.m. And you're like, wow, must be nice. I wish I was as motivated as you. No, you wish you were as disciplined as them. Because if you disciplined yourself to eat the way I guarantee you that 4 a.m. runner's eating, to sleep the way I guarantee you that 4 a.m. runner is sleeping, and to function the way that 4 a.m. Runner is functioning, you're going to be different. I remember I used to require 8 to 9 hours a night of sleep. Like if I wasn't going to get that, even since I've been with Debbie in the last 11 years, early on in a relationship, I'd be like, I'm not going to be okay if I don't get that. I average 4.5 hours of sleep a night right now. Now, I'm not suggesting that for you. You may need 6, you may need 7 to be healthy and well. But right now in this phase of my life, I'm getting half of what I thought I had to have. And what I'm getting is actually propelling me in success. But the way I'm able to do that is because I'm eating flawlessly. My exercise is regulating my body the way it's supposed to. All of the elements of my health are locked into place. So when you're thinking about your health and you're thinking about your wellness, are you considering what being well will actually add to your life? And this is how Debbie starts with her people. A lot of times, the meal plan actually comes on the back end after the explanation of this, right, Deb?
Right. I mean, I think, I just don't think people understand the impact that food is going to have in every area of their life and just how possible it is to move the needle with just some minor changes to your food. Now, if someone's meeting with me on a 6-month program, then we're not going to make minor changes. We're going to make major changes. And We're going to make a major commitment to, you seeing results right out of the gate. And the first 30 days is an anti-inflammatory approach. It's a low histamine approach. And the whole point of it is so that within 30 days, your blood sugar patterns change dramatically. Your energy changes. Your focus changes. You just suddenly get yourself into a situation where your body doesn't feel like it's in near as much pain. You are in a position to where you're digesting your food differently. Everything just really starts to change. And now, before we know it, you actually feel good enough to get up and do things that you weren't doing before. Exercise. You actually feel good enough to start exercising. You're not calling in sick to work because you feel good enough to get up and go every day. Even on the days that you kind of just are not in the mood, or you kind of just don't feel like it, you're still capable of doing it because you're still strong enough to do it. Your focus is stronger. You're starting to catch things that you maybe were not catching before. Like you just couldn't see it. You didn't see any of the things coming just simply because you're so bogged down and so fogged up by all the bad food. Food is such a catalyst for change. Now, we can go on a diet, and that diet can be, I'm going to lose weight. The reason why I'm going on this diet is because I want to lose weight or I need to lose weight. But that doesn't mean it's going to make us healthy. That doesn't mean that we'll have the proper digestion. It doesn't mean that we'll have the proper blood sugar. It doesn't mean that our energy will be there. It doesn't mean that, our brain will be there and our mood will be stable. We might lose weight, but we also might lose all those other things, the energy, the stability. We might gain pain. There just might be a lot that comes from that type of diet.
Well, it's like with me, it's kind of fascinating to be the physically strongest version of myself. I actually can eat crap. I was talking to someone about this the other day. Like my workouts, if I'm highly consuming starches, like I can actually eat Sour Patch Kids right into a workout, and I'm an absolute machine. It even hypes up my metabolism. I'll end up leaner and stronger. Here's the problem. I'm also sicker. My brain's not okay. I'm fogged up. I'm pissed off. I'm very edgy. My digestive system's wrecked. Right. I get sick. Pain. All of a sudden I have the flu easier. I have pneumonia. Anything that's going around, I have it. My joints hurt I have arthritis. My joints hurt. So I pull that stuff out and I lift just a little lighter. Okay. But the thing is, none of that other stuff's occurring. I get sick once a year, maybe twice a year, instead of every 3 weeks, like I am when I'm eating that stuff. So I challenge you, think about, if you're getting sick every time the weather shifts, if you're getting sick once a month, and I'm not talking about you got a little sniffle, I'm talking you're 3 or 5 days down, and you think about the fact that that's a 10th to a 5th of your life each month that you're spending sick. Do you really need to be sick? Do you really need to be that unwell? Is there something you could sacrifice to get those days back?
Right. And I mean, that is a major thing that clean eating can do. But I just don't think that people recognize how much they're not fulfilling because they're not on the right plan. They're just barely getting by. They're just putting their time in. They're just clocking in and clocking out. They're not thinking about what's next, what could be next, all the extra. How can I serve other people? How can I improve? What gains can I get in my life? Where can I grow? How can I change? Because the food is truly, truly fogging them up so much. When you finally get that clearing and you really get that clarity, you'll have a day where you'll sit back and say, wait a minute, I feel amazing today. You will have a day and you will feel it. The energy will be hitting just right. The sharpness in your brain will be exactly just what you know it should be. And you're going to take that moment and you're going to say, this is where my inspiration is. This is where my motivation is. This is what I want to chase after. I want every day to feel like this day. What did I do? How can I replicate this? What can I eat? What treatments can I do? What exercise should I do? How much time should I spend in prayer? How much time should I do breath work and stretching? What do I need to do to make sure that I can repeat that every day?
But again, how did that even come about? What even brought that to the surface was that consistent pattern of quality ingredients and clean eating on a regular basis made it possible for you to even start thinking that way.
I think if you've listened to our show for any length of time, you've heard me say this before, but if you're new, the reason Debbie and I actually know each other is I actually went to her for nutrition. I had to lose 100 pounds. I was recovering from a heart attack that, fascinatingly enough, a lot of people didn't even know I had because I kept it a secret because I didn't want to admit like weakness in that. And so I went to her because a friend of mine knew that I had to lose that weight to be okay. And so she did my nutrition. And I remember, I'm not even talking about weight loss. I remember being like a little over a weekend, I was eating what I was supposed to eat. I had given up alcohol, substances that I was taking. And I had to go to work, and I felt like garbage. I mean, there was a couple of days I felt worse than I had been feeling because my body was detoxing. And I remember walking outside, looking up at the sky and thinking, hey, that's a pretty cloud. And then I had to like stop, and I was like, okay, first off, I don't remember the last time I looked at clouds. And I'm going to tell you right now, I have never called one pretty. And so I had this moment where I was like, is that what life's supposed to feel like? You know, they say stop and smell the roses. I didn't even see the roses. So if you're walking around in that fog and you're walking around and everything is pessimistic, like you might not be a pessimist. You might just be in such a crappy place with your food and your energy that you're actually incapable of convincing yourself to do the things you want to do. You said this a little bit earlier, Debbie. You said, you may not feel like doing it. Well, here's what's interesting. Winners, people that are successful people, the reason they win is because they do it when they don't feel like it. But they're able to because they can press into their discipline because they feel well enough to do it. Even when they're sick, even when they're low, even when they don't like want to, they get up and they do it. So if you are having days regularly where you don't want to and you don't get up and do it, ask yourself, do you feel like it's more than just making a decision? And if it is, you probably need to take a look at what you're eating.
Right, absolutely. Because it is hindering you. It's keeping you from moving forward. It's causing disease. It's potentially raising your blood pressure. It's potentially causing diabetes. Yes, absolutely. There's those health issues. But I mean, it's actually hindering you. It's making you not be the spouse that you could be. It's making you not be the parent that you're capable of. It's also making it to where you're not seeing the opportunities that life is presenting you. Those opportunities are to serve someone, to help someone, to stand in the gap for someone, to jump into prayer and to just believe for someone. Those opportunities are just passing you by. You're not even seeing them. And they could provide so much blessing in return in your life if you were actually seeing them. But again, you're just not even able to be part of that. You're just barely getting by and you're just muddling your way through because of the way you feel every day. Food is the catalyst for change for that. Getting on a well-balanced diet, an anti-inflammatory approach, reducing histamine in the body, balancing out your neurotransmitter levels, all of this happens when you are on a very well-balanced, fully nourished diet. That is what we help you with our 6-month nutrition program. For more information on that or working with a personal trainer, take a look at integritytrainingsystems.com or give us a call at 636-2908. For gluten-free, dairy-free baked goods delivered to your door from my personal bakery, take a look at sophiesbakery.com. And for 100% grass-fed beef, the only meat that the Morris family will eat, take a look at fedfromthefarm.com.
Welcome back, everybody. This is John and Debbie Morris with Integrity Training Systems on Real Talk 93.3. We just left the last segment talking about the importance of food just for your general health and wellness, and talking about how it could be preventing you from being the best version of yourself that you can be. Deb was mentioning that you could probably be a better spouse. You could probably be better at your job, and you could probably help more people. And I've heard this said by multiple people, so I don't even know who to give this credit to. But one thing I've heard is the most selfish thing you can do is be selfless. And what does that mean? Well, what it means is people who help other people are gratified in that. There's actually a sense of accomplishment by assisting someone else. And so if you're capable of helping other people, then it really helps you. We talked about the gentleman in the first segment that I was able to assist. Like, I find great joy in that. I'm so glad and happy to have been a part of that. But if I'm not well, I'm not going to feel like caring about him, because like the guy I was talking about, everybody's in their own world and most of them are walking around even unaware of what's going on around them. Well, if that's the case, you're going to have a really hard time trying to assist other people. Another quote I heard on Instagram was a guy said, if you want your spouse to do everything that you need them to do, all you have to do is everything they need you to do. Because if you take care of your spouse and you take care of their needs and you put their needs before yours, they'll do the same thing. Now, if they don't, you might question who you're married to, but they're going to do the same thing. And what happens is we get so hung up on what we need. It's, I need this, I need this, I need this. And two things happen. The other spouse is like, now, wait a minute, I need this, and I need this. And now all of a sudden it's like, well, do you care to help me? Well, do you care to help me? And people are at each other's throats. But if you actually just say like, okay, what can I do to assist my wife? Like, what can I get done that I don't even have to ask for? Those things, they don't go unnoticed. Now, they might for a week, they might for 2 weeks, because how long have you not been doing it? A decade? So you just have to do it for the sake of knowing that you love and care about your spouse and you're helping them out. But why am I mentioning marriage scenarios right now? Because you might not feel well enough to do it. You might not even see that you can do it. You might come home from a long day of work. I'll give you an example. I'll just put myself on the spot here. There are days that I go to work and I will get there at 4:30 in the morning. People talk about long days. I'll leave at 9 o'clock that night and I will work every hour of that day, 5 a.m. to 9. There's days that happens. Now, I might train 14 clients. The rest of those hours, I might be working on paperwork, but I am actively doing something. And I have to do it in front of people. I have to laugh. I have to joke. I have to smile. And so then I'll come home and I'll basically look at the paint on the wall. I'm like, ugh. It's like I'm a zombie. And my daughter will be trying to talk to me and Debbie will be talking to me and I'll be real short in my responses. And I'll kind of be like, and so Debbie's like, I don't get it. Like you go to work and you can talk to all these people like this. You're excited. You're in a good mood. You're this. And she's like, but then you come home and Sophie and I try to talk to you and it's like talking to a wall. You're just shot. And I'm like, well, yeah. I got kind of defensive. I'm like, well, yeah, that's because sometimes at work, I'm just faking it. I have to fake it. Like, yeah, I'm happy to be there. Yeah, I'm happy to help people. But like that smile, I have to plaster that on. I have to plaster my responses. And so she jokingly said, well, you don't think you could do it for one more hour? And that actually kind of hit me a little odd. She said it as a joke, but I'm like, you know what? I can. Like, I am actually interested in what my daughter's telling me about her day. I am actually interested in what my wife's telling them. Exhibit that. Don't let yourself fall apart and get weak in front of the people that you care about most. That's when you really should step your game up even more. Now, I'm not talking about living a fake life, but what I am talking about is they deserve to see the same energy that I give to everybody else. And at the end of the day, I can give it to them. I'm choosing not to. Now, if you're sitting in the chair and you're literally nodding off because you don't have the energy, that's a different situation. Been there, done that. But if you're just making the choice to kind of fall apart and not be there, not show up, what is that doing for your family? And is there something you could have done to have the appropriate energy to do that differently?
Absolutely. I mean, I think what's difficult is when a client or a person, a friend, whatever, when you know that they're deliberately making really bad choices. I mean, everybody's human. We're all going to make bad choices, but I mean, it's just continuing. It's candy, it's sodas, it's coffee drinks from Starbucks that are just full of sugar, and it's pizzas, and it just keeps going. The cycle keeps going, and then the next thing you know, there's arguments, or there's kind of short temper, or there's they're having difficulty with their spouse, or they're having difficulty at work, or people are starting to annoy them a little bit more. Friends and some of the things that they're doing are starting to annoy them a little bit more. They set themselves up for this. So they're in this situation where they're sick, they're tired, they're not focused, they're having strife with friends, with family. And the reality of it is they did it to themselves.
Right.
They took in all this bad stuff. They did it to themselves. Well, someone who really loves you, someone who really cares about you, someone who really wants you to feel your best is going to look at you in that moment, and they're going to say, hey, you think you should stop eating the candy, or you think you should stop having a pizza, or are you sure you want to have that?
Right.
And nobody wants to hear that, but it actually really feels good. I can just tell you, from someone who's really not accountable to many people other than God, just because I own 2 businesses and I don't really have that many people that try to hold me accountable for things. Man, if someone came to me and said, hey, Deb, you got an autoimmune disease, should you be eating chocolate? Should you be eating, all these different things? Because, it's making that autoimmune disease worse. Boy, I'd sure appreciate it that someone would care enough about me to say something. But the reality is if anybody does say something, man, they're doing it because they care. They're doing it because they want to see you better. And like John said, like, our families, that's the only time we get with each other.
Right.
Like, the time's going so fast.
Right.
It's like the cup is emptying faster than what we think. And you want to have that conversation with your spouse because you want to see them healthy. You want to have that conversation with your boss, with your coworker, with your best friend, because you care about them. You want them to stop buying the candy, to stop buying the sodas, to stop buying the garbage, because it's bringing them down, and they're not getting better. They're getting so much worse in life because of it. And if you didn't care about them, if you truly didn't give a dang, you would say nothing, and you would just continue with your life, And we've been put in those situations. It's a tough situation to be in. We don't want to have to say something to somebody. We don't want to have to come at somebody like that. John's done it with his parents or with friends. It's been tough.
I think that's the point you want to understand yourself, is if your friends come into you and say that, and they're truly your friend, and they're coming to you like,
or your spouse or anybody.
Yes, the fight that you feel like welling up inside of you, where like, I can't believe you'd say that to me. They don't want that fight any more than you do.
Yeah.
They don't want that fight at all. They don't want to have to be the one that tells you, but they feel obligated because they actually care about you. And it's always funny because, Debbie obviously started as my nutrition coach, and you obviously don't get 100 pounds overweight because you don't like to eat. So I like food. And people always back, oh, it must be tough living with Debbie. And I'm like, Debbie actually doesn't tell me what to eat. Now I'll go to her and be like, Deb, I need a nutrition plan. And she'll fire one off for me instantly. But throughout the duration of our relationship, she doesn't say, don't eat that, don't do this, don't do that. She doesn't tell me what to do because she doesn't feel that it's her place to do that. But what she will do is, if I've ever gotten off the rails and start to eat things I shouldn't eat or drink things that I shouldn't drink, and it becomes a regularity, she will show up and she'll be like, you've been talking about being anxious a lot more lately. Like, do you really think you should drink those energy drinks? Or you've really been saying you don't feel good with this lately. Do you really think that you should bring that in? Even if it's just on the weekends, it doesn't seem like it's working too well for you, and that's hard to do. Like, especially with me, like, I don't like being told what to do. I just, it's hard on me. I'm much more humble now than I was a decade ago, but it is, I don't handle that, or I didn't used to handle that very well. She doesn't want to have that conversation. She doesn't want to see me get mad and be like, why are you trying to tell me what to do? She doesn't want to deal with that, but she cares. So if you're putting yourself in a position where you even require that conversation, I just challenge you to think, like, how much better would my life be if I just consumed what I needed for fuel and not to feed my flesh.
Absolutely. For more information on a 6-month nutrition program with us at Integrity, take a look at integritytrainingsystems.com, or for a free personal fitness assessment with any of our personal trainers at 636-299-2208. For gluten-free, dairy-free baked goods delivered to your door from my personal bakery, take a look at sophiesbakery.com. And for 100% grass-fed beef, the only meat that the Morris family will eat, take a look at fedfromthefarm.com. Thank you so much for listening, and God bless.